Hey, what's up, everybody? You're watching and listening to From Prison to Purpose. My name is Jimmy McGill. I'm the host of the show. I'm also a returning citizen, and I'm also a person in long term recovery. I'm a public speaker and the author of the book From Prison to Purpose. And today's episode, we have Candy Hunt, and you are going to hear an amazing story. Candy has only been out of prison 4 months and has already changed her entire life. She grew up in an atmosphere conducive to chaos. Father was arrested on bank robbery.
Yes.
Grew up in, that alone is crazy. So I'm excited to hear Candy's story. And so we're going to jump right into this. Tell us a little bit about who Candy is, where you're from, what that childhood looked like.
So my name's Candy. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. My childhood was a mess. I had two parents that were addicts. My grandma, she was the strong one, of the family to keep our family straight. She never did a drug a day in her life. She just watched my parents struggle. They were best friends. They were just friends in addiction.
Okay, so grandma was the person who had her stuff together.
Yes.
Okay.
So my mom and my dad's mother, they raised me.
Okay.
My dad was in and out of prison since I was 1 till I was 23.
Yeah.
22 when he robbed a bank. In and out of all different, from drug charges to writing hot checks to everything.
Did you ever go see your dad in prison?
My mom would take me as a little girl to halfway houses, seeing him, in county jails, seeing him. When I was about 9 or 10, my mom ended up getting into some trouble and went to prison. So
both your parents did time.
Yes.
Do you think that influenced you?
Probably, yeah, because that's all I knew, the drug life.
Yeah, you were used to it before you ever went to prison.
Yes.
That's wild. How old were you when your dad robbed a bank?
I was 22.
Oh, wow. Well, what was it like to look up on the TV and see your dad on the news for bank robbery?
So I was strung out on heroin when that occurred. We had no lights in our house. I had two kids that were 1 and 2. DHS was involved. They didn't take my kids because we kept fridges or food in the like little freezers, mini fridges and stuff. And the weather, as long as we got to, it stayed a certain degrees, they wouldn't take my kids. So the police showed up at the house with AKs, and we didn't know. The neighbors knew before us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he threatened to beat my mom up with a brick. Like if she wouldn't write a note, he wrote a note and took it to the bank and told him he needed the money.
Why did he make your mom write the note?
Well, she said that you're out of your mind, and she wasn't going to do it. So that's when he threatened to hit her with a brick. And my mom said, well, come with it.
Yeah.
My mom, she was a strong woman, 5'9". My dad's 5'5". So my mom would have whooped him.
So he wanted mom to help him rob the bank, and she wouldn't do it. So he made her write the note.
Well, he was going to. My mom told him that you need to figure out how to write your own note. And so he wrote it in crayon. He went to the bank.
He didn't know how to write?
No, read or write.
Okay, so there's where I'm at.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's literally what you grew up around. That was a normal
environment.
Wow. How old were you when you started using drugs?
21, and that was heroin.
Your first substance was heroin?
Well, marijuana, but I was about 18. I was against everything because I seen my parents. I got emancipated when I was 15, working my first job. My mom paroled out to me at 16. I was trying to do something different. I met my husband, and that's when I fell short,
So did you ever drink alcohol or smoke weed or any of that growing up?
Not really. I wasn't a drinker. It made me sick. I tried it maybe once or twice, but no.
Yeah. And so, well, how did it start if you stayed away from it till you were 21? What happened? How was the introduction to substance use?
So I always seen my mom and dad high on heroin, and I got with this guy when I was 17. He hit a good habit. He was a bad alcoholic. I stayed with him, When I was 19, I got pregnant with my first kid. Still, I didn't use drugs. I had my first son, and they gave me hydros.
Yeah.
So I liked pain pills. I was an opiate addict, and I knew that my grandma at that time, she was sick with cancer. And so she would just give them to me because I would say, oh, my tooth hurts, or this, or oh, that. And she would, so about 19 is when I started taking pills. By the time from 19 to 21, I was a full blown heroin addict.
Yeah. And so your addiction actually started from a prescription.
Yes.
Did you know that Arkansas was number 2 in the nation for overprescribing opiates?
Nope. I did not know that.
So there's a problem. Chelsea and I, we went to the doctor a couple of weeks ago because she was sick, and she told the nurse, the intake nurse, the nurse that took her vitals, and the doctor that she's in long-term sobriety and cannot have any pain medicine.
Amen.
Do not give her any narcotics, and they still tried to prescribe her one. They still sent us home with a prescription. She threw it away when we got outside, but it was the fact that
they don't care.
Yeah, they're so eager to give us something, man.
Yes.
Even after we tell them, hey, look, if she would have filled that prescription, a lot of people would have. A lot of people wouldn't have been strong enough to not do that.
Right.
So, man, that sucks. So you gave birth. You were a clean person all the way up until your birth.
Yep.
They prescribed you hydrocodone for the afterbirth.
Yep.
And you never look back.
Pretty much, no.
So how old are you when you go to prison?
Okay, so when I went to prison, I've been to prison twice. When I first went to prison, I was 25, my first trip.
Yeah. What'd you go for?
Prescription pills. 3 hydros, 3 Class D felonies. I walked a year probation down.
So wait, they gave you they gave you a felony for each pill?
Yes.
Instead of one felony for the 3 pills.
They charged me individually 3 Class D felonies.
Where were you at that they did that?
Paragould, Arkansas.
Paragould needs their ass kicked. I can't believe they would do that.
I know, that's right. So
do they do that a lot?
For prescription pills, yes. I think really in all reality, it was God trying to open my eyes, to be honest.
May have been.
And so they gave me my first time, they gave me 3 years. So I walked a year and a half down on probation. I was high on meth the whole time I was walking my probation down.
So where'd the meth come into play at?
So my dad robbed a bank. A week later, my mom told me I was packing up and moving to Arkansas. I thought she was kidding, because she had a heroin habit herself.
Yeah.
So I packed up. I came down here, was here for about 6 months, met some guy, and introduced me to meth.
Yeah.
So I stayed clean for about maybe 5-6 months, So then one drug to another, And my addiction, I went hard, And my mom did too. I went to wake up my mom one day, and we were 30 days sober. My mom said that we were done getting high, and I said, all right. I was with her. I went to wake her up, and I went in her room, and she was blue,
Yeah.
She passed away in her sleep. So I called my aunt, and they ended up revocating my probation. Even though I walked a year and a half down, I was like, well, then I'm going to run to rehab. I went to a rehab. I graduated that, and they still sent me to prison. They didn't count that rehab as ACC rehab or whatever. So I did 1 year, and I had 1 year left on parole.
Yeah.
I walked it down high on meth after I got out of prison, walked it down, still continuously did the same thing, thought I could buck the system.
Yeah.
So then for the last 7 years, I was on one, So I ended up in 2022, I ended up catching a meth charge, and I just prayed. I prayed that I know that if I went to prison, that I know I could change, because I didn't have a mom. She passed away. My father overdosed on heroin after he got out from robbing a bank. My husband, heroin overdose,
Dang. So all 3 of your immediate family, your mom, dad, and your husband, died from overdoses?
My mom didn't. She died of a massive heart attack in her sleep. I believe in my heart that her body couldn't handle being sober.
Yeah. She had been doing drugs her whole life.
So them 30 days that put her, she was a 350-pound woman, you know?
Mm.
So I think it put her body in shock, and she went, you know?
At least she went in her sleep.
Amen.
All right, that's peaceful.
Yes. And
so how old were you when you went to prison the second time, and how long did you stay there?
Okay, so it was in 22. I'm 33, so 33.
So how long did you stay
Or
there?
30. I was there for 8 months.
8 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I decided that my aunt told me I could parole out. She has my kids. My aunt told me I could parole to St. Louis, and I told her no.
So did you do your time in a state or a federal prison?
State.
Okay.
Both times.
Both times. So what was that first day of walking in prison like for you? The first time?
I was scared to death. You know what I mean?
Everybody is.
You know,
they pretend that they weren't, but everybody's scared.
I was scared to death. Yeah, I was scared to death. I only did the first time I went to prison, I had to do 7 days in the county. So I was deathly scared. I ain't gonna lie, you know? Yeah. And I was like, I did not see nothing that I loved there. You know, like my dad, he was in and out my whole life. And I'm like, what do you love?
Yeah.
You know? And it goes to show that ain't.
So when you first got there to state prison in Arkansas that first time, what happened? Where did they take you? What was that process?
So I went to West Memphis, from Greene County to West Memphis, ACC. I had to work a program. I was there for 11 months there. I did not want to hold people accountable because we had to, you know, work the program.
Yeah.
I didn't see my focus wasn't on anyone else. It was really on relapsing again, to be honest.
Couldn't wait to get home and get
I
out.
couldn't wait. I knew my grandma was taking care of me. She was sending me money, you know. I knew I had different intentions.
Yeah. Yeah. So was there anything there that first time that helped you, made you want to do right? No.
To be honest, no.
You just wanted to get high again?
Yeah.
That's nuts. The driving force of your life was your substance use.
Yes. That's all I knew.
I can relate, man. I got out of prison 5 different times and went straight to get high. That was the thing I missed most when I was incarcerated, was finding a way to get high, was using, was that, you know, how excited I would get when I knew I was going to get to do one, and no fear of consequences. It didn't matter what the consequence was.
And I knew I had my aunt to lean on and my grandma, and she had my kids, and I knew she was going to let me come back home, you know, so I knew I could do whatever I wanted to do. It might have took time, you know, but I knew what I had intentions on my next relapse, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure.
We were going to the same town. So this time, she moved to St. Louis with my kids while I was in my addiction. In the 7 years, she took my kids literally from me. I didn't have a house hop, different men.
Yeah.
You know?
Couch surfing,
pretty much.
Isn't it funny how we addiction is really a disease of perception, the lens on how you see things. It's insanity, right? Like if you let me sleep on your couch for 3 days, technically I'm your roommate.
Right.
You know, if you let me drive your car twice, I'm a co-owner.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's nuts. And we really believe that shit.
I know.
We really believe that I'm your roommate because you let me sleep on your couch.
And really, I'd never looked at it like that. I always had the drugs. So here, I'll pay you to let me sleep on your couch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So how did you get your drugs? If you were the person that always
whatever I could do.
Anything, no holds barred, nothing was off the table. Robbery, hustling, prostitution.
Prostitution was more
of what it was, yeah.
And that was seeing that was normal in my life.
Yeah.
Growing up, seeing my dad's little girlfriends, you know, my mom, they had an escort service when I was a young kid, you know. That was normal.
Yeah, sex work. You were desensitized to it at an early age. Yeah. So I was too. You know, I saw chaos, thievery, prostitution, all that stuff is what I was raised up around. And so the older I got, the more normal it was.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nuts. So, what was your first day of prison like the second time you went?
I knew I was saved. I felt like God answered that prayer for me. Like I knew I was going to do something different.
Yeah,
I knew that my aunt would have probably still let me come home. She said I could, but instead I knew I was going to a halfway house.
yeah,
I knew I wanted something different. In
yeah.
order for me to go to a halfway house, I knew I was going to have to get a job. I was ready to do something.
So, what's the name of the halfway house you went to?
Safe haven?
Clarksville.
Yes.
So, did you know that you were going to get accepted to Safe Haven when you applied?
No. I prayed hard
Yeah.
on my knees.
It's very competitive. It's like there's only 20 beds at Safe Haven Women, and
That was my number one, and I had to pick three. And the week before I was about to be released, I went to the lady, and she's like, "Well, you could go to the Phoenix House on a Friday, but on Monday you can go to Safe Haven."
yeah.
So I stayed them extra few days.
So you wanted to go to Safe Haven so bad that you spent 3 extra days in prison to wait on the bed.
Yes,
So, how much of your success right now, like you've been home 4 months, you've been clean. First time out of prison, how long did you stay clean?
maybe 2 months.
2 months.
Yes,
Okay. So, do you contribute any? How much of your life today do you contribute to Safe Haven?
all of it.
Yeah. So, do you feel loved there?
Oh yes.
Did you feel loved wherever you went the first time you came home?
No, I knew I found true love being at Safe Haven.
Why do you say that?
I say that because working on myself, they see something different in me that no one has ever seen before.
Yeah.
Like getting a job, that's normal. Just the so-called normal things in life.
Yeah.
I was always told I wasn't going to be good enough. So I can honestly say that the love is totally there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the key to recovery housing is to love somebody.
Yes.
Love them till they can love themselves. So at
Amen.
least that's the way it is with my guys anyway. And Safe Haven is kind of like the sister organization to Next Step. We're two very different organizations. Like Sharon's not going to come in here and get all on a podcast and talk shit with you. You know what I mean?
I know that's right.
But she will pick you up and guide you and mentor you, and she will position you for every bit of success that a woman in your position can needs and can achieve. You know what
Yes.
I mean? And that's the same thing we do at Next Step. We just have two very different approaches. You know what I mean? So I think if every girl returning to society from incarceration could get a chance to go to Safe Haven, that it would probably increase their chances of staying sober and free.
Yes.
You think?
I totally agree.
What's your favorite part about being in a recovery house?
Speaking to the girls that are broken, I would say, and knowing that just a little bit of my story can touch someone else. We all go through a lot of things similar, but I know when I was in my addiction, I thought I was the only one that is going through this, and this.
Yeah.
And so just speaking to them, lifting them up when they're crying, just helping them.
Yeah. So what do you think like the hardest challenge about you staying clean is going to be?
Going back to being a mother by myself. So I decided to stay at Safe Haven at the graduate house.
Yeah.
Maintain my job.
So you've already graduated your recovery program.
Yes.
And you got a full-time job?
Yes.
You like your job?
Yes, and I work hard. I work night shift.
No, that's
but it's money.
Yeah, it pays more too, probably.
Not
really.
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
Okay. So going home and being a mother without the support, is there a possibility that you could relocate and get your own place up here where you have your support?
Well, so that's going to be baby steps. I haven't been a mother in 7 years. So
Come on.
I'm not going to take my kids out of where they have been for the last 7 years.
That's righteous,
I'm not going to be greedy because I was greedy when I wasn't calling them every day, when I was in my mess, when I wasn't getting clean and sober.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So when I came home from prison, I did not do that. I immediately started fighting to see my daughter, and I think that possibly had more of a damaging impact than I ever thought it would.
Yeah.
So my hat's off to you for that. Do you have a relationship with your kids at all right now?
Yes.
Do you get to talk to them?
So last weekend, after I graduated the 90 days, I got to go to St. Louis and I got to see him for the first time in a year and a half.
How'd that feel?
Amazing. So,
Did they recognize you?
yes, and I surprised them. My aunt let me go in her house, you know.
We just had the same story on here, like with Mary Beth. She literally was talking about how she walked in, surprised them straight out of prison.
Yeah, so they didn't know I was coming, and I didn't want my aunt to tell them because I never knew, like anything could happen, you know what I mean? And St. Louis is far. So I got to go there in the morning time, walk in my son's room, and his face lit up, you know. And then I walked up the stairs, got to see my girls, their face lit up, and I gave them $100 a piece for Christmas. You know, it feels good to work hard work, you know, money that, you know, I worked hard for. And they just didn't even want to take it from me. And I was like, no, y'all are fine. I want to take y'all out to eat with TT because I know y'all can't come alone with me.
Yeah.
So I had enough money to.
Who's TT?
Their aunt.
Their aunt.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that your sister?
No, that is my mom's sister.
Okay. They're great. Okay. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. So then my kids went downstairs. I asked her if she wanted to eat. She said, no, Candy, you can take your kids. It's been 7 years since I've took my kids alone.
How'd that feel?
Oh my God, it was amazing. I never would have thought that today I would be able to take my kids out to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We went and seen Santa. We played arcade games. She didn't even call me one time, you know, to check on him. So it goes to show that recovery, you know, she can see it on me. And then she tagged me in a post on Facebook and said, recovery looks good on you.
So how does it feel to have family members who have been taking care of your personal weight for that many years cheering you on now that you're sober?
Amazing. I thought she would have gave up on me a long time ago. And really, I pushed her away.
Yeah. Do you feel like you deserved her to give up on you?
To be honest, yes. I believe that, you know, I felt like she could have took my kids, hit me for child, you know, she could have did all that, but she didn't. She might not have answered her phone, you know, for months at a time because she knew I was a mess. But I get it now. I totally understand.
Yeah. So what's in the cards for Candy's future? What's your goal?
Maintaining my job, getting an apartment down here, and then baby steps on like summertime, getting my kids.
Yeah.
Staying in church, staying plugged into Safe Haven.
Yeah.
You know.
That's good.
Trying to touch other people's lives.
So you feel like that's your purpose?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, you're carrying if using your story to reach people and inspire people is what you feel like your purpose is, you realize you're doing that today, right?
Yes.
Right. So like if this podcast just reaches one woman who comes from the same background that you came from and inspires them, it's worth it.
Amen. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So how long have you been clean now?
13 months today.
Wow. 13 months today?
Today.
Well, congratulations. Yeah, maybe we can get some sound effects added in there, some clapping. Ty's really good at all this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's pretty awesome. He's got a hell of a story too. I'm going to get him on here before long.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, man, congratulations on 13 months clean. And we are going to follow up with you 6 months from now and see what your recovery looks like, what your reentry journey looks like. And,
okay.
You know, you are the proof that people can and do recover, that people can come home from prison and find a productive pathway.
Yes.
So I want to ask you to just look in this camera and whatever you have to say to any of the viewers or any of the listeners, you speak your heart and your mind and just tell them whatever's on your heart.
So I would just say if you are struggling, not having your kids, not being a mother, just know that recovery works. And It might take time, but it's all worth it in the end, because I never would have thought in a million years that I would be the mom I am today. And y'all can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You are the proof that if you can do it, anybody can do it,
Amen.
Candy. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I want to thank you for sharing your story and being transparent. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And I want to thank all of the listeners and the viewers. Please go follow us on all social media platforms. You can stream our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere that they have a podcast streaming platform, and long form content of this will be on YouTube. So if you follow Prison to Purpose, please go subscribe. Make sure that you watch all of our stuff. And I've got to say a thank you to Safe Haven for making such a wonderful champion for women coming home from prison. And, got to send a shout out to Next Step Recovery Housing and the National Peer Recovery Alliance for encouraging people with lived experience to emerge and be champions. So I hope to see you again soon, Candy. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
You've been listening to From Prison to Purpose with Jimmy McGill. Please subscribe on any of the major podcasting platforms and on YouTube at Prison to Purpose. This podcast is produced by Ty King with American Business Engine and executive producer Jimmy McGill. For more information, visit us at jimmymcgill.org.